the hardest thing for Dan was probably his age, because I'm not sure that I would have dealt as well as I think I deal now had I been 23, when your world is still opening up and you've got so many things to do.
This is, I think, the main problem with the Daniel James case. I mean, I think people say because he was so young, he shouldn't have been able to go to Dignitas. He should have, his parents maybe, or some authorities should have stopped him and said, you know, give it a few years, then see
They
what
couldn't stop him without changing the law. If we had a proper law in place, I think he could have. I think his parents desperately wanted to find an alternative and for Dan to find a reason to be alive. He had attempted suicide, which, by the way, is not illegal. He had attempted to commit suicide several times in the United Kingdom. His parents eventually agreed to support him because all he could think about was ending his life. If we had a law in place that would allow assisted dying, and he'd have said openly to his doctor, because at the moment doctors can't talk to patients about it. If we had a law in place where a doctor could have said to Dan, look, Dan, you're not terminally ill, and the pain that you are suffering is not so unbearable with no, vision of it being better. For that reason, what I want you to do is carry out 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, a year in therapy, and I want this to be discussed. And if at the end of that you are completely convinced that dying is the only solution for you, then I'm not saying I won't help you. I'm just saying that first you must do this. His parents would have been so grateful, because his parents would have given anything that Dan could find a way around without feeling that his life was ended. And that would have refocused his mind from being, I want to end my life, to being in therapy. And maybe that could have found a solution. I didn't know Dan. I'm not saying it would have done. I'm not saying that there's any solution. What I'm saying is, what we need is a framework in place where if Dan wants to end his life, he has to talk to doctors and social workers and to explain why he thinks his life is not worthwhile, why he thinks his life is unbearable, and then people have got opportunities to address what actually is the problem with Dan.